today will be the controlling of North Africa. So, this all starts in June of 1942. And in June of 1942, British forces, under the direction of General Bernard Montgomery, will engage Axis powers in North Africa. In June of 1942, British forces, under the direction of General Bernard Montgomery, will engage the Axis powers in North Africa. And that battle between the British forces and the Germans, basically in northern Africa, will be known as the Battle of El Alamein. The Battle of El Alamein. So again, in June of 1942, British forces under the direction of General Bernard Montgomery will engage Axis powers in North Africa at a battle known as the Battle of El Alamein. Now, during the Battle of El Alamein, General Montgomery and his British troops pushed the Axis out of North Africa into Egypt. In the Battle of El Alamein, British General Bernard Montgomery and his forces pushed the Axis troops out of North Africa into Egypt. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2. In November of 1942, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in North Africa. Phase 2. In November of 1942, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in northern Africa. In November of 1942, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in North Africa. And after a series of battles against the Axis powers in North Africa, the Allies gained control of both Morocco and Algeria. So again, in November of 1942, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands a force of American troops in North Africa. They have a series of battles with the Axis powers, and as a result of those battles, the Allies gained control of both Morocco and Algeria. And finally, Phase 3 in North Africa happens in February of 1943. Phase 3 happens in February of 1943, where Americans fight German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and his German army to a standstill in Tunisia. And the final phase in North Africa occurs in February of 1943, where American troops fight German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and his German army to a standstill or a stalemate in Tunisia. So you have three phases. June of 1942, General Montgomery and his British push the Axis powers out of North Africa into Egypt in the Battle of El Alamein. Meanwhile, in November of 1942, Phase 2, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower lands an American army in North Africa, and after a series of battles, the Allies gained control of both Morocco and Algeria. And Phase 3, in February of 1943, American troops fight German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel and his army to a standstill in Tunisia. Even though it was a stalemate or a standstill in Tunisia, the Allies gained victory there because German Field Marshal Rommel was called back to Germany after this battle, and when he left others in charge of his troops, they simply collapsed. So that was really an Allied victory there as well. So again, after the stalemate in Tunisia, German commander Rommel was recalled to Germany, and after Rommel's departure, the German army collapsed. So the Allies have cleared the way in North Africa and will now begin their invasion of the southern part of Europe, the soft underbelly of Europe, hoping to draw German troops from where? Russia, the Eastern Front down, to give the Soviets a better opportunity. Well, Churchill's strategy works to a T. German troops were pulled out of the Eastern Front to aid against the Allied attack in Southern Europe. And as a result of that, the Russians win a big victory, a decisive victory over Germany on the Eastern Front at Stalingrad. So again, because German troops were pulled to aid in the Allied attack on the Southern Front, the Soviets were able to win an important battle over Germany on the Eastern Front at Stalingrad. And the Russian army defeated over 300,000 German troops at Stalingrad, giving the Allies victory on the Eastern Front. So in Stalingrad, Russia defeated nearly 300,000 Nazi soldiers, halting the German advance, giving the Soviet Union a victory on the Eastern Front. How are we doing? Everybody clear on that? So, Mackenzie, my dear, once we've cleared, I'm kind of going backwards to tell how, but once we cleared North Africa, what's the first country we're going to attack on the soft underbelly of Europe? Which is, look at our next subtopic. Well, fighting in Italy. We're gonna hit Sicily first, but we're going to move to the subtopic fighting in Italy. So as I mentioned, these Allied victories in North Africa is going to set the stage for actually an invasion of Italy. It'll be the first Axis country that we will invade on the soft underbelly of Europe. And the first thing that comes into play will be the island of Sicily, okay, which is south of the country of Italy. And in July of 1943, American and British armies invade the island of Sicily under the leadership of American General George Patton. So in July of 1943, American and British armies will invade the island of Sicily under the leadership of American General George Patton. Now, this is kind of interesting. After the Allies and General Patton defeat the Italians at Sicily, Italy is knocked completely out of World War II. What would be an event that would have to happen for Italy to be knocked completely out of the war after a victory in Sicily? They haven't even hit the mainland yet. What would have to happen for Italy to be knocked out of World War II? Nope.
Naval blockade.
Nope. What? Nope. Loss of somebody. Benito Mussolini was overthrown and he and his family were hung in the streets. So soon after the Allied victory in Sicily, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini was overthrown. He and his family hung in the streets. He was replaced by Pietro Badoglio, who immediately unconditionally surrendered to the Allies. Mussolini was replaced by Pietro Badoglio, and he immediately unconditionally surrendered to the Allies. Now, I want you to think kind of a little bit about the Civil War we talked about. With the surrender of Italy, after the overthrowing of the dictator Mussolini, did that mean all fighting stopped in Italy? No, why? Because it was infested with Germans. Very good. It was infested with Germans. Just like not all the Confederates stopped fighting after the surrender of Appomattox, right? They had to clean them out. And so this fighting in Italy is going to be fierce and brutal, clear until the end of the war in Europe, simply because there are so many Germans infesting the country. So the Allies don't quit fighting against Italy or in Italy after Sicily. They advance to the mainland, and on October 1st of 1943, the Allies capture Naples, Italy, under the command of American General Mark Clark. So the Allies are going to continue to press northward into Italy, and they capture Naples on October 1st, 1943, under the command of American General Mark Clark. But as I mentioned, the Germans are going to fight till the end in Italy, and we will not be done with fighting them till the latter stages of the war in Europe. So after the capture of Naples, Italy, on October 1st, 1943 by the Allies, what's the next Italian city they want to get? Rome. And in June of 1944, the Italian city of Rome was captured by the Allies. And as I mentioned, the fighting in Italy continued until the latter stages of the war in Europe because there were so many German soldiers inhabiting that country. So even though Italy was out of the war in Italy, Germany was not out of the war in Italy. Some of the bloodiest fighting will be done there, and every inch of soil in Italy is going to be won at a great cost. Well, now the Allies are going to kind of turn their attention to the liberation of France. What happened when the Germans crossed the Maginot Line? What did they do? They took over half the country, right? The northern half, including Paris, and they put it under German rule, remember? Well, the next goal of the Allies will be to try to liberate France from German rule. And that'll happen on the northern coast of Europe. And so a major assault's going to be planned on the northern coast of Europe. And this assault is going to go down in American history as D-Day. D-Day. And that's our next subtopic. So again, as progress was slowly being made in Italy, the Allies prepared for an assault on northern Europe with the thought of liberating France from German rule. And this major assault on the beaches of northern France will go down in American history as D-Day. So that takes us to our next subtopic, which is D-Day in Europe. Who did the Allies choose to lead the assault of northern France? General Dwight Eisenhower. And there's reasons why he was chosen. Who's that? There were reasons that Eisenhower was chosen to lead this operation, which became known in American history as Operation Overlord. So the D-Day invasion, the invasion of the beaches of Normandy, was called Operation Overlord, and the man chosen to lead Operation Overlord was General Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I'm going to give you three reasons why they chose him to lead this particular assault. Three reasons why Eisenhower was chosen by the Allies. Number one, he had a very calm temperament. Number one, he had a very calm temperament. Number two, he was very bright. He was very bright. And number three, he was an excellent organizer of men. Number three, he was an excellent organizer of men. So the three main reasons why Dwight Eisenhower was chosen to lead Operation Overlord is because number one, he had a very calm temperament. Number two, he was very bright. And number three, he was a great organizer of men. And he's going to have the task of organizing the greatest amphibious invasion in world history. Eisenhower is going to have the task of organizing the greatest amphibious invasion in world history. To give you an idea of what this invasion is going to consist of, I'm going to give you some numbers. About 3 million soldiers are going to take part in this, from the United States, Great Britain, and Free France. In other words, the southern part of France. Approximately 3 million soldiers are going to take part in this. From Great Britain, the United States and free France, the southern part of France. Millions of tons of weapons will be used in this invasion. Millions of tons of weapons will be used in this invasion. Tens of thousands of motor vehicles. Tens of thousands of motor vehicles. Tens of thousands of motor vehicles. Over 11,000 aircraft. Over 11,000 aircraft. And more than 400 military vessels, which are what? Amphibious ships or boats. Over 400 military vessels. 3 million soldiers, millions of tons of weapons, tens of thousands of motor vehicles, over 11,000 aircraft, and over 400 military vessels. Operation Overlord was scheduled to be launched on June 6th, 1944. Operation Overlord was scheduled to be launched under the command of Dwight Eisenhower on June 6th, 1944. Here was the initial strategy. Allied forces were going to storm the beaches of Normandy in northwestern France. Beaches of Normandy. We always vision that this is one beach. There were many beaches that were stormed. Soldiers from the United States, Great Britain, and Free France would be the victims of high casualties on this day. Many beaches would be stormed. What was the philosophy? Why were they storming these beaches? They're going to come in on these patrol boats, and these boats are going to open, the fronts are going to come out, down, and these soldiers are going to pile on the beaches. And what's their goal? What are they doing? They're going to control the beaches so they can bring in tanks behind them, and then soldiers, infantry behind them. But they've got to get off the beaches and get control of the beaches while Germans have machine guns, sniping nests all along the beaches, firing machine guns at will after they put metal obstructions on the beach to keep the soldiers off. They're going to be invading those beaches under heavy fire with the philosophy of clearing the beach so the tanks can come and the infantry can come behind them and they can free France, right, from German rule in the northern part. Now, of all the beaches we talk about on the invasion of Normandy, the one most documented and the one you see on Saving Private Ryan is Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach. I'm very proud to have a knife from a mess kit from one of the American soldiers that was found shortly after the invasion on Omaha Beach. This was found on Omaha Beach after the D-Day invasion that day, and I'll show it to you. It's not a knife as a weapon, it's a knife from a mess kit that they would have on them to eat with. And that is from Omaha Beach. Now, to make a long story short, I'm going to show you a video shortly that's a bit gross, but you need to see it, is they cleared the beaches, including Omaha Beach. The tanks came behind them. And between June 6th, 1944 and August 25th of 1944, the Allies pressed forward and entered Paris, France on that date of August 25th and liberated Paris away from German rule. So from June 6, 1944, the initial invasion of Normandy, as they pressed on, by August 25th, 1944, the Allies had entered Paris, France, and liberated that city. They continued to move on, and by September 12th, 1944, they had advanced beyond the France-German border, liberating all of France from German rule. So between June 6th and August 25th of 1944, the Allies fought desperately, making inch by inch of ground under heavy casualties. And by the 25th of August, they had liberated Paris, And by September 12th of 1944, the Allies had advanced beyond the France-German border, and the country of France was liberated. Now, we're going to show you about 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. It is not pretty. But as they researched this with World War II veterans for accuracy, they stated the only thing that was missing was the smell.